Welcome back to Reality Check. We are glad that you're back with us. This channel cares for hearts and minds, and we have conversations in the areas of mental health for your families, your parenting journey, your marriage, and your workplace. Today, we are going to be talking about girls and science careers and why girls are not exploring these some more. What is hindering them from pursuing these careers? Obviously, we know that it's mostly male dominated. For a reason, the courses are hard. But with us today, we have someone who has conquered that mountain, and that's none other than Zerida Nyangoma Atwine, now McNeil. She recently got married, so congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
If you have been a keen follower of Reality Check, you know that this is Nyangoma. We hosted Nyakato a couple of weeks back. If you haven't watched that episode, please go back, watch it, and then join us for this one. Today is Zerida's turn, and she's here as someone who has been to the engineering world, and she has a degree in engineering, and today she's going to be telling us a bit about her story. And hopefully, if you're a girl out there and this is something that you want to pursue, maybe you'll be inspired to pursue it. Or if you're a parent to girls, and you think they can actually pursue careers in STEM, then this might inspire you to encourage them to do the same. Of course, her mother is in the house. I mean, how can we do a show with Zerida without Dr. Avis? So Dr. Avis is here with us, of course, going to be lending us a parent's perspective, but also from therapist's point of view. And we're looking forward to a wonderful conversation. Dr. Avis, for those of you that are new here, is a therapist. She's a marriage and life coach, a parenting coach, and she's also the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. With that being said, welcome to the show. Welcome, Zeli. She's fondly known as Zeli, and so we're going to refer to her as Zeli on the show. It's good to have you both here.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Oh, good. Good.
Good. Zeli?
Yeah, doing
Still
good.
nervous?
You know.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay. So we'll get into it. Like I mentioned, engineering course, STEM-related careers are mostly male-dominated. But here you are sitting with us, and you have been to the engineering world. So can you tell us a bit about your journey into engineering and maybe what first sparked the interest for you to pursue a degree in this field?
Okay. Yeah. So I've always loved math and science since I was a very little girl. And growing up in Uganda, I had both my parents, my mom and dad, who were very good encouragers of me, in my school, basically, from, the youngest stages. And they realized that I had a specific interest in science and math, and I've always loved fixing things and deconstructing them, and I've been fascinated with how, like something goes up and then something comes down. That's always been my fascination. And that's kind of where that started. And yeah, so I did primary school here in Uganda and went to Gaza High School. For 6 years. And yeah, so I'm a Gaza alumni, and then I decided to go and pursue my engineering degree in Canada. So I've been there for a while now, and I did my civil engineering degree there, and yeah, now I'm working as a civil engineer, engineering training. I haven't yet received my professional engineering license, but that's being worked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So your path was almost natural, you would say.
Yes, with a lot of support from parents, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to do that. In high school, I did technical drawing, and one of the things, I guess, that really encouraged me was my dad when he bought me a suitcase full of technical drawing instruments that I still have till today, just to make sure that, I was drawing house plans and sections and things like that. But he kind of gave me that motivation and gave me the best. They always gave me the best, and yeah, just having that push and encouragement from my parents was very key.
Okay, it's nice. And since one of your parents is here, we'll move over to her. So, Dr. Ivas, one of the goals of this show is to encourage parents to create environment for their children to thrive. What would you say are some of the things you and Salongo did to enable Zerida to pursue this course?
Thank you, Rachel. You know, when you have your child on the show, you just have to make sure you speak truth.
Because there's a witness.
Yeah, so she's talked about the suitcase, technical drawing suitcase that the dad bought, which is still here, and which I still remember her attachment to it. But I want to start from before, when they were still little. Of course, it starts from, unfortunately, I think I've mentioned on several shows that parenting, we take it casual, we gamble at it, and we also don't pay attention to certain things. And honestly, I'm not condemning any parent because all of us have graduated through it, but of course, later on when you do training, you realize, oh my God, then this actually happened either by chance or when they had just started school. They went to kindergarten at age 3 and 9 months. And she was a type that always finished her work. Now, when we did the show with Nyakato, you remember what I mentioned. So she was the opposite. The other one played, this one did work. So she would do her work and make sure she does it the way it's supposed to be done. And if she doesn't finish her work, she wouldn't settle. Now, as when they joined primary, I think they were around P2. Then what she's talking about, constructing, deconstructing, and all that. Then the dad, who had a lot of interest in science subjects, said this one is going to be my engineer, and she will remember that. So from that time, he kept calling her my engineer. I said, this one, she will build buildings.
Build things, yes.
And so it started from there, and I want to really give it a significance because it's sometimes parents, we see things we ignore, or we discourage children, or but speaking into the life of a child and encouraging them, because for me her journey started then. And I'm a social scientist, so I didn't know how that would look like, but clearly Nyangoma started as a scientist. And of course, even in academics in school, then she would do her math, pass math very well, pass science very well. Struggled a little bit with the social studies, those things, which Nyakato passed.
Yes.
But of course, in primary she would excel at everything because of her structured nature. We never struggled with her homework. She would always finish her work. Then she had to play, but she was a structured child. Now, no one told us at that time that she was a personality, melancholic, that are very structured, who gravitate into the areas of science as she did. But we saw that. Now, throughout, then the dad calling her said, honestly, we didn't see Zeri to do anything else other than being a scientist. Now, I want to point out something. When she had joined Senior 5 in Gayaza, she'll remember, they joined Senior 5 and then they struggled. She had gone to do math, chemistry, and physics. So they had a challenge with chemistry teachers. I think like the first term or first term. Yeah, so that first term they joined, then they had a problem with the chemistry teacher. So in my world, I said, you can do something else. So I proposed chemistry. I proposed economics.
Yeah.
And I consulted with a cousin who had done economics. So I concluded, I said, what the hell?
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, why should you struggle with chemistry? What is chemistry?
I know.
And so I proposed that she does PEM. Yeah, so I went and we had gone for visitation. I said, good, I've come with good news.
Yes.
You don't have to struggle with chemistry. There is this PEM, and actually you can do economics very well.
Yes.
And her response was to cry.
Oh, okay.
So she cried. She's like, me, I can't write those things, because she had through O level.
Yeah.
She excelled at science subjects, and then the histories of this world, the literature, then geography, like those things.
Too wordy.
So I remember I had to keep encouraging. I said, pass them, because you have the capacity to pass them. Just pass them. Pass all these, and then when you go a level higher, you have the chance to select those you want to specialize in. And then that's it. Now, senior 5, I'm here proposing economics. And she said, I can't write wordy things and all that. So clearly we were going a journey with her. And I remember I abandoned it immediately. The dad said, don't worry, he can do tutoring and all, but you're going to do because he couldn't believe that Nyangoma would get into a line of social science.
There's just no way.
Yeah. So she was, and we just continued supporting her with her passions and definitely her areas of strength you could see. And we could tell that she was different from her twin sister. Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I think just listening to you, I wanted to emphasize something that you say on this show a lot, for parents to listen to their children. So observe and listen. When you observe that your child is gravitating towards something, and then you listen to their interests. I mean, another parent could have dismissed that and say, you're just being childish. This is the course that's available. I mean, the subject, so why don't you just do it? We're wasting time and you can do it. And so, but just listening and saying, no, my child likes this and they excel in it. So I'm going to support them in that, in that area. But Zeli, I want to hear from you. I know that you had a lot of support from mom and dad. Were you conscious of the fact that this is a male-dominated area? And if you were or were not, how did you walk into the engineering, going to do an engineering degree? Were you aware that this is going to be hard, this is going to be difficult, and I mean, you had to move to another country? Were you conscious of that fact? And maybe speak to also the challenges that you faced pursuing this degree as a woman.
Sure. So yes, I was aware, but I feel like I was very sheltered at home. I was just so encouraged that I was almost delusional about the reality of you'll pretty much be the only one. It's only when I went to Canada when I realized, oh wow, I'm the only African woman in my entire civil engineering cohort. So things kind of hit hard when I didn't have my family really close to me anymore. But I still had their support from afar. So, regularly talking and being like, wow, this is actually very challenging. The first terms were really hard. You're adjusting to a new country and a new way of life, and then I'm doing 6 courses every term from the first year to the last year for 6 years. So it was very tough, and I was very aware of the fact that I'll pretty much be almost alone on the journey. But being a firstborn, I've just pretty much, being alone in Gayaza and then being a firstborn, I've gotten used to kind of being alone, I guess. So I just kept having my final goal in my head, just knowing like, okay, everything, all this noise that's around is temporary. I might not see these classmates, all this noise and opinions coming from everywhere in my ears, and for a long time, like it's not permanent. So I just remembered like at the end of the day, I have to get that degree. That's it. Whatever happens, like, you know, you kind of have to power through. But yes, it was challenging, especially like being in Canada. You're, you know, like we're a majority here, and then we're termed as minorities in Canada. You know, you're African as well. You know, there's all sorts of societal challenges. But I think what I learned to do is to feel less of a victim and just utilize the fact that you're different and just take up space. I use that statement a lot. Because you can only be in the victim mindset for so long. It's actually not very helpful. Now, that doesn't dismiss the challenges that come with it, but you can't be in that mindset for forever. You're not going to do anything. So, yeah, I just used that fact to, you know, take up space. I'm like, yeah, I'm the only African person here. I applied for a lot of stuff, you know, to be a representative for my entire cohort in my first time at the University of Victoria, and just kept getting opportunities, volunteered for a lot of stuff, and traveled across Canada representing like my university. You know, like I'd only been there for a couple of weeks, and you just kind of have to take up opportunities. Like no one's going to come and actually serve them on your plate. So it was more of taking the victim mindset out. And of course, like there were hard days, things get to you. I'm human. So you go, you cry, and and
wipe your tears and come back.
Oh yeah, but you know, I always use like university mental health support, always, my entire degree. So any hard days, any, you know, things that got to me, I always consulted a counselor, whatever time it was. That was free of charge with our university. So I did that, and I'm pretty sure I spent a lot of hours on the phone with the counselors.
Oh, with the counselors. Okay.
Yeah, because it's really hard. Like, you know, having to work multiple jobs and 6 courses every term. Like there was no term where I went low on the course load. It just stayed constant the entire time. So you toughen out after some time, but you still need support. And I always consulted counselors. I did that my entire day, and I'm very proud to say that. Yeah.
That's so profound, because I'm hearing you speak and I see someone who is aware that, yeah, things are tough, and you look for help when things are tough. But then when you also need to suck it up, you do that because you have a goal in mind, which is to get the degree. You know, you've traveled so many miles away from home. You can't then waste that opportunity. And the challenges are many. I mean, you've talked about race, you've talked societal challenges, you've talked about being far away from home. Before we came on the air, we're talking about the weather and how even that can contribute to just life being overall depressing. And I think it also speaks to what we are talking about today, that for a very long time it has been known that only men pursue these courses. And I feel like as women, we've probably taken the victim mentality, like, oh, you know, we can't manage, the courses are too hard. But you rising up above and saying, no, yes, it is hard, but there's help when I need help. And then when I need to suck it up, you know, I'm able to suck it up. But I wanted to turn to you, Dr. Evers, because she talked about leaning on you guys for support. How did support then change? Because now she's away from home. Phone calls are not the cheapest option. So, like, how did support for you change for both you and her dad?
Did it change? You know, distance. Of course, there is power in being close, in physical interaction. we didn't have the chance to do school visitations.
Yes,
she
yes,
knows we used
yes.
to joke about it when she had just gone.
Yeah, no
I would say,
VD.
when is VD? So VD was big when she was still around, but now she's in Canada. And she's in a totally different culture, which you're not aware of. You don't know it. She's fighting. She's running the race on her own. She's experiencing things on her own. I think what I would mention to you, Rachel, is support nonetheless. Whether it's from afar or near. One of the things I think she'll testify to is the fact that constant calls, just being in your child's life consistently. And so just knowing what she's going through, encouraging her through. Several times with the dad, still the dad singing the My Engineer thing. And then of course having conversations around which engineering to do, so making sure that the child has that support from the parent. And so we never went quiet. We just kept supporting her, and the difficulties she's experiencing. One of the things that we encouraged our children to do is to utilize therapy,
which she did.
Yeah. And I think even Nyakato talked about it. Speaking to a therapist, speaking to a life coach, having an external person other than your parent, because there she would have someone she could sit with or just talk to, someone neutral that she could share something that she probably can't always share with me. The school counselors, utilizing support was the word, and we encourage them not to just be on their own. So I think that was extremely helpful, and ensuring that definitely we also provide any other form of support that they needed, and listening. Listening when she wants to run. She just wants to call and be a child. Even when you listen, you're like, well, what you're telling me, but she just want to be a child. Mommy, things are so hard. No. Yeah, so you're like, oh, yes. Oh, sorry, it's hard. Validating feelings and then re-energizing them. And constant encouragement. One of the things, again, she will confirm is that we always talked about times will be hard. But just don't lose focus. Just don't lose focus. This is a time for school. It will end. I remember her constant thing was, I'm tired. She was tired all the time. And I remember telling her, yes, this is the time for being tired, but time for resting will come. Now, when she finished school, she got a withdrawal effect because she was working. Then she kept saying, when I finish the last paper, I'm going to sleep. Then when she finished, she didn't sleep. But then afterwards, then she was able to come back and say, this is what it meant, because then I remember afterwards she slept. And so I think that's what I would talk about. But also, I remember during COVID, when things were tough and they had to work for their upkeep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to work for their upkeep because things were tough. So now she's telling you about 6 subjects, subjects every term, and then working a job. So one of the messages that we've always given to our children is that life is not easy. You see, the money that you use, if you don't work for it, someone is working for it. There's nothing like free money. So don't settle for free money. And that actually was so admirable about them, because working for upkeep there, And of course, her being in the science world,
Yeah.
their jobs, the jobs that they would do would pay more. But they also did work at a cafe and
Oh, yeah. Worked at a cafe, tutored. And,
yes,
yeah, I was
tutored.
doing that.
Yeah, she was tutoring.
working all day,
Studying.
studying
Yes.
all night.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the key message is helping a child to know that life unfolds in seasons. Yeah, there's a season for hard work, there's a season for pain, but that's a season for sowing.
Yes.
And you cannot reap when you haven't sown anything. So there's that time for sowing. Don't miss it, and then you expect to harvest
reap.
later on, to reap later on. Yeah, so that constant encouragement, that scaffolding that had to happen. I think for me, the grace of God is there, but also the parents' role is big.
Yeah, and I think with every season, there's an opportunity for you to teach your child something.
100%,
Yeah.
yes.
Even when they are much older and have left home,
They'll be a child.
yeah, they'll still be a child.
They'll be a child, and they need support.
Yeah.
They need a lot of support. Maybe I should say this. I remember like conversations around relationships, for instance. I'll bring this up because I remember as part of our support, having conversations around your course is hard, you see how busy you are, you probably, yes, you're big now, you can get into a relationship, but are you sure you can combine these? Because relationships require a lot of emotional voltage.
Yeah.
And so that emotional voltage, you also need it for your course. So do you want, because so many children actually get diverted and lost and lose focus because now they are doing this course, it's so exhausting, it's so taxing, then they get into relation, then they are messed up, then before you know they are depressed and all that. So such conversations, making sure that you don't leave anything untouched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so those are the kind of support we're giving was, even up to that level.
That level
Of tough, uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, and it has led to the product we see today.
Well, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
We thank God.
So I know that there's been like so many initiatives and strides towards encouraging women to take up STEM opportunities. Do you feel like the landscape has changed? I mean, from your experience, that maybe more women than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago are taking up these spaces, and maybe what can be done to encourage more young girls to pursue STEM fields?
Yeah, I think it's actually changed. It's funny because, again, before I left home, I didn't really get into the details of, okay, there's few women in engineering and things like that. I just did. So I didn't want to get into, taking up too much information that I can't actually use. So yeah, it's changed, and actually there's a lot of space for women because all over the world there's a lot of women in engineering or science initiatives. Like we in Canada, like we have a lot of women in engineering societies. So, they put on events, and it's a support group for, engineers all over, say, Vancouver. Like I'm based in Vancouver, and then there's people in Calgary and things like that. So there's lots of initiatives. It's really changed. Now that, just because that's there doesn't change some underlying stereotypes or, women are still paid less, women getting into leadership positions is still a bit of a task, but you have to get in first. True. And there's a lot of space to get in now. So no one should be worried about, the amount of space. And yes, if you're alone, that's great. That's great. Just you got in, right? So that's how I think. So yeah, there's a lot of space. You just have to get in and just do. You don't need to collect all the data on all the advantages and disadvantages and of being in the field. Like, you have to choose what you want to have in your head. That's kind of my mindset. I don't take in all information. You know, if I have a goal, that's the goal. Yeah. What am I doing towards the goal? Yeah. That's just how I've been. If something's not useful, I just keep it out.
Yeah. Rachel, if you allow me, I think what she's saying, I was looking at statistics. You know how much I love statistics. I checked out statistics around women in science fields, and I can only see statistics from the UK. Even societies developed as the UK, only 35%.
Not many.
Only women, 35% women are in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. In Uganda, I was looking for statistics, and I've seen one report that talks about girls are particularly underrepresented in science, technology, and engineering, and mathematics, STEM education. There is low enrollment, poor performance, high numbers of dropouts. But then it says currently less than a third of science researchers in Uganda are women. Less than a third. You see? So there's still lots of underrepresentation, and when she was talking, I mean, as a person, you aim to focus, and but I also think that children need support, because there's a lot of background noise of women, that's not for you, of math, math is for men, or science is for men, and I honestly think we lose so many children along the way, because they believe that, and they need a lot of encouragement to know that, because some are really, they have natural gifting, like we've talked about Nyangoma, to do this work, do it well, rather do math, do it well, and they need a lot of encouragement. But then the biases around, you don't have to struggle, you'll just be as a fashionist or something.
Marry a rich man.
Or why struggle? Like, take life easy. So I think there is still a lot of work to be done in that area, maybe.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I think on all fronts, but I think the biggest point of support, I guess, for people would be in their homes, with parental support, even with our teachers. I think because we spend a lot of time at school, your teacher can help a parent see, if the parent is not seeing that, by the way, your child is thriving in science, in math, and they do have potential to create a path for themselves in this area.
Sure.
And then therefore encourage the parent to support them. So you're having support on either side.
That's right.
So yes, obviously a lot of strides have been made, and I think more and more girls are getting into these spaces, and the more we have conversations like this, I think the more we normalize these spaces for young women. But to you, Zeli, what would you say to a young girl? And maybe before we get to that, are you doing anything you as Zeli to support and encourage young girls to get into these spaces? I think we were talking about mentorship earlier on. So is there any initiative that you're thinking about or working on, whether formally or informally, to support young girls to enter these spaces?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go back to your previous question about the support.
Yes.
And then I'll come back to this one. But about the support, yes, I had support from my parents. Now, that doesn't come automatically. You kind of have to nurture the relationship with your parents. That's number one. And I also had distance being in Gayaza. I'd call them over the phone booth. So when I went to Canada, it wasn't like a huge change. It was just more distance. But we already had that relationship, so the support stayed. I also had a lot of friends in my cohort, you know, we held each other's hand. There's a lot of times when we almost gave up. It was extremely hard. So I had a lot of friends, a small group of friends who I did, you know, we all supported each other. Again, the mental health was super key. You know, I did that pretty much like every breakdown. And yeah, and again, I also had a lot of outside noise, but I always came back to my parents. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This person really frustrated me. This person said this, blah, blah, blah. And then my parents just always had this, you know, really good statement. I don't know if I'll say it well in Luganda, but it's Soma katono kolanyo, and then Soma
katono kolanyo funa katono.
Yeah, so it's that, right? And I've always had that in the back of my head. I'm like, because you know, you reach a point where you don't want to like keep working like till you drop dead. So I've always had that in the back of my head. We'll always have humor like that, and that was nurtured in like our family. So it was not just like go to school, make sure you do this. And we always laughed, and weekend, you know, calls like 2 hours, you know, on WhatsApp with Nelly, who's in Halifax, and then I'm in Vancouver, Victoria. You know, like we nurtured that. So with all the noise, you just have your core group of people. You know, for me, it was family who I always came back to, and we just laugh about things like, oh, this person did this, and you're like, don't listen to that person. You know, things like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, like you just learn to compartmentalize and understand. You know, I'm not going to listen to this. That's a projected opinion from someone else. So just keep the focus. So there was a lot of stuff around that I utilized, not just my parents and family and my sisters. Like we all supported each other. It's not easy being away from home and navigating like a whole continent on your own. So yeah, anyway, then back you were talking about how if I've been able to support anybody. Yeah, so in 2019, I came to do my very first internship here in Uganda. And I worked with Concern for the Girl Child, which is based here in Ntinda, just voluntary part-time. And I just for a couple weeks, I believe, and I got to meet 4 young girls who were in primary, I believe, at the time. And we just had conversations. I told them, yes, I'm working on my engineering degree. I wasn't yet done, and just shared my story. And I've pretty much been like a part-time mentor for them till today. So just supporting them, and you know, they've given me a lot of good news that, oh, you know, they'll give me news about their accomplishments, and like, oh, I finished, I got this in PLE, and then now I've decided to take this in high school, and then, oh, I finished high school, now I'm going to do this. So I've almost been like their accountability person in their life, apart, I guess, from their family. So I've done that, and it's nice because they know they have me as their support, and I can, you know, if they want to take on a challenge all over the world, I can share my 2 cents about it. And yeah, so I've done that. That's still part-time and informal, but in the long term, like I actually want to either work on a podcast where I can share my story, or and also, you know, come and, you know, have talks with, you know, different ladies here who want to pursue that as well. because it's not impossible. I also had thoughts about it being impossible at some point, you know, throughout the degree, but there's actually a lot of initiatives and support all over the world. But again, it doesn't change the biases and things like that, but you have to choose your battles, you know. Like, you're not going to just change gender pay automatically. You can change the company you're working at that does fair pay. Like the company I currently work at, all my bosses are women, all the way to the top. It's about 50% women in the entire engineering company. So, you know, like, I've had to choose spaces where I feel supported. You have to look for it. You know, like I said before, things are not just going to be handed out to you. You don't wallow in the victim mindset. Go look for stuff. Like, you're not a tree, you can move, right? So if you feel like something is not serving you, just change it. Now, it's not always going to be easy. You know, we're all human. You're going to mourn certain things. But like, you have to move. So you have to look for the stuff. They're actually out there. Like, I didn't know there was a company that had 50% women in the entire engineering workforce. You know, and they support us a lot on getting our certifications, on, you know, just being different, being a different company. So I'm glad that I found them, and that's been very good breath of fresh air for me. So look for the support, confide in specific people who you actually value. But there's a lot of space. That's the good news I can say. There's a lot of challenges, but you can't let that not, you know, hinder you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel was just thinking about the role of teachers as she was sharing. I think teachers also did such an amazing job, and any teacher out there, just know that you can actually inspire a child or motivate them and help them to pursue these courses, because I think the voice of teachers helped a great deal. Just remembering some of them, Teacher Sechewa, who always told her that she's the best mathematician, and followed through every time we went for for visitation. Teacher Sechewa would be waiting to tell you how Nyangoma now passed everything. And so that kind of energy and inspiration that we give to children is very very big. And of course on the other side, if a teacher just tells a child, this is not your world, this is not for you. Because I think we've had some, one of our children who is clearly headed into the medical world. The teacher told her that she's probably needs to pursue something else. This is what she said, I don't see you in this science world. And honestly, everything about this girl is science. You know. So I think the role of teachers cannot be underplayed. So that is very important. But what I hear Nyangoma also say, which is I think is important to fellow girls or girl children, is to have your own confidence. Or confidence, it's called self-confidence, and not just wait for the world to motivate you, but also know, because if you're working, if I've had young girls say, science is not for girls, science is not for girls, in so many circles, just for them to know that this space can be occupied. You know, it can really be occupied, as she's saying. Then of course the importance of self-advocacy. I was looking also at the gender gaps around salaries and you know, men earning more. I mean, this world is just something else. So you have two engineers. This one is a woman, this one is a man, but they earn differently. Just to emphasize the importance of self-advocacy.
Yeah.
You know, when you see this, not to set everyone up to fight and be aggressive. That's not what we are talking about. But can you self-advocate? Can you say this, can I understand this? I think there's a time she was working in an engineering company, and there were all these gaps, like a huge gap. And she kept saying, I just noticed this, I noticed that. And I encouraged her, I said, do you want to pick it up with your boss and say, you've noticed that, you probably don't understand it. No one is going to fire you for that. Yeah, just bring it up and say, we are on the same level, we've earned different, but I realized that, is this, because I remember telling her, is it about the way you negotiated? She said, yeah. I said, yeah, but if it's the way you negotiated, then you probably want to, you don't want to look ugly. You want to pick it and say, well, at the time of entry, this is what, but I realize we are doing the same work. And what's the level, the scale and all. Because, yes, when I was coming in, I didn't know how things looked like. The importance of self-advocacy. It's very, very important in your world. And helping girls to stand up, but also to, you have to stand up to the challenge, but also to negotiate for space that you're talking about, because absolutely there is a lot of space. There's a lot of space.
A lot of space, and like, again, the discrepancies between, there's a lot of stuff. Like I said, women get into higher positions and the pay and stuff, but there's actually female leaders in the companies who just, they're earning a lot of money, you know, even more than some men. So again, that's a statistic that is general and a stereotype, but you have to understand that stereotypes don't apply to everyone. So you go look for another place. I was able to, you know, find out the reason I was not being paid much, and then I found a different company, you know, where I actually got a raise and, you know, things like that. So you have to go look for it, right? Yeah, it's just data. Like, you can't just apply it everywhere. Yes, there's only less than a third of women in research. Okay, let's get in there and make it a half,
more,
right? But we have to hold each other's hands in it, and I'm just grateful that I had, you know, my parents, who are very core to the entire process, really, like, sacrificed a lot of money and time, and I'm accountable to them as well. So have someone you're accountable to. You know, you can't just, we're all accountable to someone at the end of the day. You know, if you're in a job, you're accountable to a boss. Like, so have someone you're accountable to and someone you share your journey with. It's very possible. It's fun. I have had lots of fun, and, you know, taken up lots of scholarship opportunities to, you know, travel or go and represent my universities and travel for free here and there, you know, things like that. You have to have fun with it. Otherwise, time is going to pass by and you haven't done anything fun. You know, the entire degree.
And all you remember is, oh, I suffered. Yeah. I did a lot of work, right? And I could never do that again. I can't even encourage anyone to do it again.
I had fun.
Speaking of which, nice. I think your area also, we need to have a few more people speak up and encourage others. As just speaking of mentors, I don't know whether these were mentors, but inspire us. You know, I remember when I was in senior 5 in Bweranyangi, and we had this group of old ladies, girls, including Honorable Matembe and all these ladies come and we were looking at them and saying, and they were telling us, I said, you can achieve this, you can achieve that. So that kind of inspiration that children need. They need to see someone can make it. I remember talking to, recently, about a year ago, talking to a young girl in Gayaza, and who had this whole stereotype about, this Gayaza school is just for raising housewives.
Yes, I've heard that.
And I said, where did that come from?
I don't know.
Our daughter did engineering and she's there conquering space. So what do you mean it's for wives? And
I think it comes from because they train us to do chores a lot. We did, I don't know if it happened in your time, but would wake up and housework was part of our daily routine.
How can housework be?
But I don't understand how that translates to us being trained to be wives.
If anything, that just taught me to manage my time and taught me how to be very self-sufficient. You know, like, discipline. Yeah, like you have to be very disciplined. You get up at this time, you have to go bed at this time. You have a very limited amount of time to study. Where do you squeeze in that time? How do you prepare? I've become very good at like planning. I feel Gayaza was the real core. I'm like a very strict planner. About the housewife stuff, I do not know about that. It's very strange.
It is strange.
It's very strange because I remember telling this girl, what's wrong with doing housework?
Housework, yeah.
What's wrong with getting those? Because they essentially the school is trying to raise a wholesome child, someone who has skills for survival, academics, and all. You can. I mean, so how is that? I asked her, how is that a disadvantage? And she kept saying, oh, you know, this school is just for wives. They are training wives. Now, that's why I'm saying people need to hear. Your fellow children, your fellow young people need to hear that it's doable, it is important, it's okay, and definitely the world needs more scientists, and girls can take up that space.
Yeah, which is why I'm rooting for that podcast. Zeli. I will be holding you to it.
You had started. I remember you had started at the.
Yeah. And it's a work in progress. Like,
yes.
I'm more than happy to share my journey. Like I've been alone for. It's been a very lonely journey, but that's okay. Like I've had people around me, and like you can't change some of the circumstances around you. You just have to go with what you have.
And change yourself.
And then
change the way you look at circumstances.
Change how you think. And then outsource. If you don't have it, just outsource. Which is, I've done that a lot.
As long as you don't outsource a parent.
No,
could never happen.
Not. That's like, that's why I said every time I'd have experiences that I just really could not comprehend, and I needed like a very good understanding of the world. You know, I'd go to the we call it like the OGs, you know, the people who have gone through it all. They would always give me a very good perspective. It's like, you know what, you're going to experience that. That's not the first person, that's not the last. But, you know, things are going to happen to you. Mommy keeps saying life is 90% how you react and 10% what happens to you. So you have to be diplomatic with certain people who you have to interact with all the time, who will not treat you well, but you have to be the bigger person, and honestly it gets better with time. Like school ends, I've been so happy since it ended.
Until you go back.
But that's okay, because I know now that things are actually seasonal. Been in school since like
many
daycare,
years?
right?
It's been long.
It was just didn't end, and then everything was 6 years and 6 years,
years, yeah.
and just like, when is this ending? And then it ended, and I'm like, wow, this is great. I've actually, now I can, not that I can relax because work is insane, but like now I'm enjoying the the fruits of what I sowed. And yeah, I'm enjoying myself, and now I'm proud that I can actually say, yeah, like you can go through it, and it's fun. It's actually fun being. You don't choose to have that attention, but it's fun. Like, okay, so you're the only one. Just enjoy it, and there's lots of opportunities for you. So. Just have fun. Now, I don't know what the situation is like doing engineering in Uganda, but I did my internship here in Uganda, and it was absolutely fun. The company that I worked with had female engineers who were so happy to share knowledge, and I really enjoyed it. I had very supportive bosses, and yeah, I had a really good time just for the 4 months that I was here. And regardless of where it is in the world, it's very possible. No one should limit themselves.
Okay, so there you have it. I think for the young girl that is watching that maybe doesn't have parents to lean back on, I think the value of having a mentor or a life coach or an older person, I think you call them OGs, someone that you can look up to and can be your sounding board. And don't just admire them from afar, like develop and nurture a relationship with them whereby when things are tough, you're able to pick up the phone and call them or text them and say, I'm having a hard time, and then they can reach out and support you. Because we live in a world that is different. I mean, some people have parents, others don't. Some people have, certain opportunities, other people don't have those opportunities. But there's different ways. I think, like you were saying, what you don't have, you can outsource.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why you shouldn't thrive as a girl in any STEM field. So yeah, any last words? We'll start with Zeli.
Yeah, just the thing that you were saying about someone trying to have parents, just cold message people. I've messaged people on LinkedIn who I thought I'd not reach, and I now have them as mentors. I have a mentor in Ontario who I thought I would really not get a hold of, but I have her and I'm accountable to her, and she's really helped me. So don't be afraid, like anything that you think, oh my God, this is so bizarre. I don't know if I should do this, just do it. Just do it anyway. Message people, send an email. People, all these entrepreneurs around the world have done like really scary things. You have to do the scary stuff. Sending an email, to like Jeff Bezos or something. You never know if you could get like sponsorship or something. Like just do it, and then have a group of friends. That's very, very key. There's so many nights when we all cried together and we still did the assignments and the tests. You wake up, you cry, do the work, and then you go and repeat. And just know the stuff is seasonal. Things will end at some point, and there's a lot waiting on the other side. And don't listen to the outside noise. Now, that's very easy to say, but honestly, the noise dies down once you've gotten the achievements. There's a lot of people who had a lot of opinions, and now it's just, because like you are now the achievement that just speaks. So what else can they say? So you have to learn to just shut that out, and remember, you have a final goal. This is for any degree or whatever you're doing. Just always have your final goal in mind. There are going to be hard days. Seek support. Like, you're not weak for seeking support, and you don't always have to have problems to seek support. I've actually sought support when And the happiest days when I'm talking to the counselors just be like, how do I maintain this? You know, like I need to maintain
Keep
this.
this
How do I do
atmosphere,
this?
yes.
Yeah, like I feel good. How do I maintain this? And they've guided me too. Yeah, and you know, keep accountable and trust yourself too. There are going to be a lot of moments where you don't trust yourself, but you have to trust yourself. But always do the scary stuff. That's actually been the highlights of my entire journey. And yeah, just do it. That's all I say. Like just do it. Whatever scares you, just do it. That's what has made me very happy. Yeah, and yeah, you have to also trust God, and you know, pray. And a lot of times, like humans can only do so much. So, you know, lean on whatever spiritual being you believe in. And there's a lot of times where you have to let those emotions out and talk to someone who's not human. You have to talk to the spirit. So yeah, just, you know, it's a lot. It's quite the journey, but it's so fun. I'm having fun.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, so Zeli has mentioned pretty much everything. I think I would emphasize the importance of courage that she has talked about. It hurts for me, maybe because I come from a life coaching standpoint, knowing that the gifts God has has put in us, someone who has, God fitted us so well for the job that we are supposed to do, and you chicken out. So you go, I can't. So the courage, and maybe to put it a different way, girls need to avoid self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is the worst. And sometimes we think other people have sabotaged us, but actually we have done it so well. We have the 10-90% principle. You have chosen to listen to the voices that you are not supposed to listen to. And I always encourage people to challenge who they are listening to. They said that this is not for girls. I always ask people, so says who? So says who? So says God, no. So we women, young girls need to believe in themselves that they can do it, what she's talking about. But then also, Rachel, the importance of mentors. Really, we need people to inspire. Maybe because I believe in inspiration, but we all need someone to hold our hand. We need cheerleaders. We need, and this could be even parents. That will be my last point. But we need people to speak up. Recently, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a nutritionist, and I said, I think you guys have betrayed the world because you have so much knowledge. You have so much understanding of how people should eat, what they shouldn't eat. The kind of knowledge, the kind of information you're holding back would have supported someone. You know, probably they also had survived cancer or something. But you're holding this back. So just to know that we are all gifted, we have succeeded, and not just for us, but for other people. How can you be a blessing to someone else? How can young girls hear from you that this is doable? Do you know how many people you would encourage, you would bless, you know, by saying, oh, you're struggling with physics, it's doable. It's doable. She encourages her siblings so much, and so some of them who are into sciences, they know they can make it. So we all need to look up to someone. And finally, parents, as my closing remarks, take time to see the gifting in your child. What are they gifts? What are they gifted with or gifted at? Which direction are they likely to go? Because sometimes parents speak these children out of it. I also wanted to be a scientist, but I couldn't. Who are you? Who do you think you are? But helping their girls to know that they can make it. Not to say that's a world of men. It's a world of everyone. both girls and boys can make it. So take time to check what your child is gifted at and scaffold them accordingly.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Thank you both. Thank you, Zeli. Thank you, Dr. Ivas, for inspiring young girls, for inspiring parents to create an environment for their kids to thrive in science, technology, engineering, and math fields. It's possible. So much has been shared. I hope you've been taking notes. If you haven't, please star this episode. I don't know if that's a thing, and return to it, or share it with your family and your friends, for somebody who might benefit from the conversation we've had today. Thank you for joining us. Of course, we'd love to hear your highlight of this episode. Leave it for us in our comment section. Subscribe to Reality Check and share this episode. We'll be back again next week. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, stay inspired, and keep it Reality Check. Bye-bye.
Bye.